Great. We're going to start this episode on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Are veils a mandatory thing for weddings?
Not really.
Nope.
Nah.
Babsy's upstairs, so I can't even remember if she had a veil, but I want to ask her.
Depends on who you ask, I was going to say.
She might get upset that you don't remember.
I'm pretty sure that she did. I remember something coming up at the very when she walked down the aisle, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'd look at a picture if I were you.
Definitely check a picture.
I'm going to wear one.
Figure that one out
before it makes me feel like Madonna.
Also, that little newspaper veil thing, I'm just thinking about how that was actually made for the episode. I wonder if it was made by the wardrobe department or if it was made by the set department, props department. But it certainly looks like it was made by somebody. Doesn't quite look like just like she took a newspaper and just stuck it into her hair. It looks
That would have been so cool to make, though.
I mean, it looks like it has like the little comb things like attached to it in the front, and it looks well crafted is what I'm saying.
Does Valerie know that we're doing these sessions, John?
She does. She does know. The problem is she's on Android.
Gotcha. There's a girl who tweeted at me about the same thing, but she doesn't have an iPhone either. So she's probably on Instagram one.
Valerie has popped in on Instagram occasionally.
I randomly messaged somebody on Instagram because they were talking about Roman Orthodox Easter. I was like, were you on the chat the other day when we talked about it? And this person was like, no, I've never watched any of those chats. Like, oh, okay, cool. I love Madeline. I know Paris meant like actually summer of the season, but as soon as she said I hate summer, the first thing I thought was Tristan's ex.
That's sort of what I thought too.
timestamp, please?
5 minutes 35 or 37. Has the dialogue speed gotten up to like full speed yet?
Almost there.
Okay, because I feel like I don't really I'm not feeling it, so I don't know if that's because it hasn't gotten there yet or because they've been like progressively getting faster and I just have not noticed.
I think by season 3, it's at like full speed.
So he didn't listen to Emily and call her, like she said.
Oh yeah, good point. Already
Oh,
called.
I was wrong.
Oh.
Oh, to have a great grandfather.
Oh, Emily.
Damn.
Yikes.
I mean, she has every right to feel that way, considering.
Yeah, we'll talk about this afterwards. I'm on the fence
Yes.
about how I feel about that. She could have told her the other night when she actually told Rory at the exact same location.
Ew.
I dated and lived with a guy for 2.5 years, and we did not once share a toothbrush. I love that they just have weird names for meals, and he just knows what to give them. If I was on the show, that's the thing I would have texted.
How did she get them past Mrs. Kim?
I know, and carry all those boxes by herself.
She did one at a time over the course of an hour.
Oh, Amazon.
I feel like Dean is being written kind of smothery.
This is
Just
the beginning.
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
Hey, Tom. Oops, my bad. Tom is so different.
Because I don't think he's really Tom here.
No, but you can tell by the voice though.
Yeah, I just meant he probably was just doing a one episode thing here.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would like to think that this is like the same Tom though. And he just becomes more endeared to them.
I agree, Sabrina. I see it as a character that they chose to develop. I mean, it's just like Mick.
Yeah, I'm unclear exactly what you guys are talking about. Who is this guy?
He's the contractor that is, he's like the one contractor that they hire for every contracting job in the series. Paris, a suicide hotline. 2 words that should not be in the same sentence. As a camp director, she would not be on my hiring list. She would be the one that would terrify me.
She adopted dolphins.
How long has he been sitting there? Too long.
Oh, geez.
Ooh, I cringed at that.
Whoa.
Say that word
Right.
once.
Wow, that's
Old
2000.
TV, man.
That is TV
That was
in
not
2000.
fly now. I like the dirt on her face. It's just so funny. Selfishness?
Oy, 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 oy.
He should have been like, okay, how can I support you? Let's figure
Yeah,
it out.
okay, so
Exactly.
the writers are definitely doing something with this character, that's for sure.
I know that's supposed to be a joke, but like, he's acting a little bit like that right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's very clingy. I mean, just 2 episodes in. He's definitely got the clingy thing going.
Which usually is not that bad, but he's like circling stage 5 cleaner. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's definitely a screen.
Nice car.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, they both have a right to feel mad, so I mean, it's not totally rude for Emily.
Oh, Max, read the room.
I know. I'm like, just get out of there. Yeah, but she's nice and just wants to be like, wasn't the time.
Not
I
the
know,
time, not
but it was funny. It was. I'm just wondering where the inn had in their budget to make all of this for free.
Well, the owner lady took care of it for some time, so she probably approved it. Here's your town scene, John.
Yep.
Where's Blaine's mother?
By the way, I am actually wearing the exact headphones that Lane is wearing at this very moment.
That's funny. But seriously, where is Mrs. Kim? Bible study, probably.
Did you get them from the set, John?
No, they're just that's a pair of common studio headphones.
Canada. Can anyone answer my question? Where is Mrs. Kim?
Except that she says Toronto wrong. It's Toronto.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, but only the people from Canada call it Toronto.
Tasha, somebody suggested that she was at Bible study. Okay. I was just making sure that people can hear me.
There's a whole lot of gifts. What are they going to do with all that stuff?
A lot of pink gifts.
A lot of Hello Kitty stuff.
They got it from the cat club. There's some cats over there.
Oh, Dean. Yes, he is.
Expulsion from the party. He looks so disappointed when she takes it.
Oh, he looks so sad.
Poor Luke. Look at that face. I've always wanted to know what Miss Patty wanted to say there and didn't.
All I was thinking is Kirk the jerk. Clearly no longer a jerk.
I feel like they definitely could have fit that suitcase in the trunk of the station wagon.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be funny.
I know, it's TV.
Very true. Oh, Luke, the timing.
That's a great shot.
It's definitely like one of my top favorite shots of all time from the show. Hilarious.
Oh, John, you'll love this. I love that moment of vulnerability from Emily.
Yeah,
So much.
big time. We'll
Like, she's
definitely be
about to
talking
cry.
about this scene for sure.
Well, that was a nice wholesome visit.
Fantastic.
But after what? She dragged Lorelai through hell.
Well,
Yeah, but
baby steps, though.
I'm. I mean,
You
I
know
don't
where
think
your
that,
head's at, John.
I don't think that Emily, I don't think that her response at the dinner table was. I think she could have handled that a little differently. But I'm sort of on Emily's side, although I'd say I was mostly on Emily's side until that last scene between, or really that last monologue from Lorelai, put it all kind of into perspective. And I think that it was like, I think it was great for both characters. But that honesty from Lorelai, where she sort of admitted, like, yeah, I should have, or more, less I should have told you, more like, here's why I didn't tell you, and you're right, it makes sense that you would be upset. It felt like the first time that I've seen in the entire series where Lorelai really breaks down what's wrong, without all of the emotion and confrontation, and it made sense to me, because up until that moment I was sort of like, yeah, because all I was thinking was the other night when she actually says yes, right? I mean, which we actually don't even see, right? Because it happens in between the last moment between her and Max on the phone, and then when she comes back into the room, and her and Rory have this, like, excited moment where they're all giggling and stuff, and she could have told her mom right there.
And
she gotta figure to open up the couch.
Oh yeah, sorry. We're actually opening up the couch. Couch has just magically gotten longer, which means that if you are out on a beanbag, you can hop up here and chat with us. Give us your perspective on all of this. Anyway, I'm actually gonna quiet down for a second and let you all talk about it. But that was sort of, just in general, that was sort of how I felt about it. I was like on Emily's side, was kind of upset about the fact that Lorelai was even upset about it, because I was like, really? I mean, you were at her house when you actually said yes, and you had this like moment of giddiness with your daughter in front of her. And I mean, of course, I mean, just even if she didn't know that her mother knew, I would be like, I would felt weird. But then it, the monologue kind of made it like lessen the blow for me a bit.
But I think she wanted that moment with her daughter. I think in that moment, they were so expected, and she told Rory, and she wanted to bond with Rory and to have that moment. And she was, she said it tonight, she was scared of how her mom would react. And so to be that happy and have that moment with your daughter, and then if she turned and said, hey, Mom, by the way, I think it would just have devastated her. So, yeah, that would have been a good moment to tell her, but I can see why she didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, and can I just pull you back to when she finally admitted to Emily that she might have a crush on Luke, and Emily's reaction?
Yep.
So the idea that she's going to open up to her mother about a guy that her mother may not necessarily think is the right echelon or whatever, it is a worry on Lorelai's mind that, yeah, she's going to find fault, and she's not going to hold back on telling her about it.
Oh, yeah, because, if we know, because when Lorelai told her that she was getting married, she was like, Mom, you know Max? And she's like, no. And she's like, well, you know of him. And she's like, there have been rumblings. So, the fact that Emily doesn't even know him, and she tells her, oh, I'm getting married, I think, regardless of whether Suki told her or not, I honestly feel like she would have had the same reaction. Just because like Emily doesn't know who Max is, and kind of like you said, Mary, like the first time she ever told her mother that she may or may not have a crush on Luke, we all saw how that turned out. So it makes a lot of sense why she didn't say anything to her mother about it, because who knows what kind of reaction she would have had for that and things like that. But I did want to touch on Dean for a second, because John, you touched on it earlier, where like they're kind of writing Dean to be like this really like kind of over possessive kind of clinger. I totally agree. And yeah, he's like approaching like stage 5 clinger, and like it really like kind of ticked me off when he was going on and on about like, I'm not going to an Ivy League school, so I can care less about Harvard. And that irked me to no end, because it's like, yeah, you may not go to a fancy college, that's totally fine, but why don't say to your girlfriend who's been wanting to go to Harvard since she was a kid, say I could care less about it, because that doesn't just like knock the school, it knocks her in a sense, because you should be excited for your girlfriend to even want to go to Harvard, regardless if you're going or not.
So, Tasha, I just want to say that I think that I understand why Lorelai didn't tell her mother right away, but I do think Emily would have reacted differently if Lorelai had told her before Suki did. And Max is more in the realm of who she would think is appropriate for Lorelai compared to Luke. In her mind, I mean, he is a teacher at Chilton. She might have thought it was inappropriate that Lorelai was dating a teacher. I don't know. But I do think the fact that Suki told her first really drove her reaction more than anything. That's just my opinion, because I think that really, Emily was really kind of hurt by that her daughter wouldn't even tell her something that's that important in her life.
Agreed. But Lorelai had no control or say in the fact that Suki told her, one. And I don't know that Emily would approve of Max being a teacher, considering the
Kiss episode?
Just from where they come from. Like, I don't see them thinking that a teacher would be good enough for Lorelai.
No, and then he's also sounded very common, and that they were only offering like $35 for installments. That just doesn't, then it makes, to me, it sounds like Max is more endearing, and it sounds like he's a nice guy, and I think he seems more desirable to Lorelai probably for that. But yeah, I think that knowing that information, I think, or if, and that she's a larger woman or whatever, I feel like Emily would snub them. She probably would, but I just, mostly I think the reaction was she was feeling hurt, and she assumed that everybody other than her knew about this because Suki was inviting her to a party. So in Emily's mind, Lorelai told the whole world, but didn't even bother to tell her parents at all. But she probably, I don't know, you don't know for sure, but she probably realized that little jumping, screaming scene between the two of them the week before was about that. And maybe that also hurt her feelings, that they would celebrate in front of them, but not tell them. And if she realized that.
Totally. I mean, that's sort of what I was thinking.
But why
I think that, sorry. Sorry, go ahead, Mary.
Sorry, I was just going to say, like, when Lorelai says to her, I'm getting married and I had Max, why not say something like, yeah, I already heard, and get it out on the table and explain to her that, like, show her you're hurt. Why can't, like, it drives me crazy that Emily expects everyone else to control their emotions because she controls her emotions, but then she has all, like, this quiet, seething anger low, and no one's allowed to question her on it.
And Lorelai is like that too sometimes, though. I think they both have that. They both hold back what they're really feeling, and they don't tell the other. And that's part of their big issue in their relationship. I mean, they're both kind of like that. I'm not trying to blame Lorelai specifically for anything. They both could have handled the whole situation better in reality. But
right, because that's what Lorelai did. She held back. She didn't say anything either at the dinner table, then gets drunk on her date, and then it's like, let's go to the house. and doesn't even tell Max she's going to the house, tricks him into there, and then just has the most awkward exchange in front of him. And I don't know.
But even then, Emily kept telling her, "I'm not discussing this with you."
Well, that seems reasonable. I mean, she can tell that her daughter is drunk.
Yeah,
I would be like, let's not do this right now.
Yeah.
But I do think that Emily was questioned. I think that that last scene between her and Lorelai was Lorelai effectively questioning her behavior, and I think she heard it, and I think it was good. I agree with you, Mary. Emily was not at her best, when she said what she said to Lorelai, and it completely came out of her anger. And when Emily is angry, she can get very spiteful. But all of that anger came from like extreme hurt, and I think that Lorelai was effective in how she ultimately was able to get through all of that hurt. And it was the first time I can't remember another episode yet where Lorelai so effectively spoke to her mother and told her what the real problem is here.
Yeah, once she realized how she found out, she kind of actually felt bad about it, and then she wanted to try and work through it. And I love that scene. I thought that was a really good scene.
I mean, I think they're similar in a lot of ways because neither of them wants each other to know how much their actions affect each other and how much things that they do to each other does hurt them. I think because they're such strong characters, they see that as a sign of weakness, letting each other know that they have effect on each other. So it was nice to see that change here, that Lorelai was able to allow herself to be vulnerable and have that exchange. And then you automatically saw that flip in Emily, that she realized, okay, I need to soften a little here.
By the way, I don't think, at least at this point, I mean, as much as I love Emily, I don't think Emily could have done what Lorelai did in that scene. I mean, it would be awesome to think that will come at some point in this series, but I can't imagine it. I thought it was like that was big of Lorelai in a way that I'd never seen.
I was gonna say, like, notice that it's still Lorelai going to Emily, Lorelai saying her thought process, Lorelai apologizing, but Emily just softens and makes a comment. She doesn't explain her thought process. She doesn't apologize. So it reminds me of that whole, like, I'm the mother, you're the child. It's the child's job to do the apologizing.
I think
but you say still. That would suggest that we've seen this before. I haven't seen it before. I always see those two at each other's throats. I always see them clash, neither of them wanting to back down.
I think she means like the history of the characters, like Lorelai leaving when she was young, and sort of it can go back to when Emily found out where they were living, and it wasn't exactly done in the same way, but Lorelai just kind of having to sort of explain things differently or something. But yeah, it's hard. It's sometimes it's hard for us because we've seen more than you have, so we're trying not to spoil.
Yeah, of course.
You're absolutely right, Chris. No, that's exactly the scene I was thinking of her standing there in front of her and going, I was deeply hurt. You need to understand. I needed to get away. Like, it's always, or the way I see like so far is when someone's explaining their thought process, it's Lorelai explaining to Emily, hoping Emily will try to understand what she did.
I think that's because we meet these characters at such a pivotal moment where, Lorelai just had a baby, and all of a sudden now she has a 16-year-old who is her age, like when she left. And in those 16 years, she had to like figure out how the world works. without, like, outside of that very waspy, nobody talks about their feelings or what's going on kind of life. And you know that that's how she grew up, because like we've met Trix, like where like nothing is talked about in like a very real emotional way. So, you know, I feel like she's always had to course correct for the last 16 years, and she's realized like how to relate to people around her through this town where everyone's got their hearts on their sleeves and everybody is very open about their emotions and about what they want to do and who they really are. And that's like how she's now learned to be, and that's how she's raising her daughter. So I think she always has this, when she's in that house, she like regresses back for a second. And so that's why we've seen a lot of tension. But like she's starting to like see her place in it, like where she has made the changes and can course correct for her parents, whose lives have not changed in the 16 years. Like their lives are exactly the same. And it's her who has changed.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. That makes a lot of sense.
I wanted to make this point. This has been like on my mind about this particular episode, and it brought up another one in my memory. If you flash back to earlier in season 1, when Rory got snow stranded at the house, at the mansion, and you know they did the frozen pizza thing, and they were looking at the photo album. There was a picture of Richard and Emily's wedding, and she was absolutely wearing a veil, not a tiara.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to go back and
Yes, I
And-
remember us talking about that when that episode.
Yes, and then also that same episode, it made me think of the episode when they were talking about how there were no baby pictures of Lorelai because she was 7 years old and set them on fire because she was always told she had a big head. Well, in this episode, Emily told her head was too big for a veil, which is why she should wear a tiara. And in that same episode, when they were looking at the photo album, the very first picture was a baby picture of Lorelai in like her christening gown.
continuity issues.
I just find those amusing. And I think it's probably because it was a different writer for that episode, maybe, or they had just forgotten that they had.
I mean, there's so many things.
Update as I go.
There's so many threads that have to be remembered.